Hey everyone, today we're going to be showing you how to install the Kings Peak 50-inch universal snowplow from Neutron on your ATV. Now this is a great way to keep your walkways cleared in the winter. It's got a universal mount that's going to work on almost any ATV, and you've got an adjustable blade to get that snow pushed where you want it. Now as far as installation goes, it's pretty simple to do. Let's go ahead and get started. To start out, we've laid out everything in the kit in order. So we've got the blade and push tube. Right here I've got the rotating plates, the universal mount, along with all the hardware and springs. And you just want to match this stuff up to your instructions and make sure everything's there. The first thing you want to do is remove your skid plate if you have one installed. Next, we're going to take our push tube and these two tabs with the holes in them. Those are going to go towards the rear of the machine. And then you can see we have this cross member right here. That's going to sit just below your fair lead for your winch, or just in front of that fair lead. These tabs are going to line up with the tabs on your push tube. So where we just set the push tube is going to determine roughly where this plate mounts up. And all you're going to do is take the 4 U-bolts, you're going to go across the top of the frame, and then you have this whole pattern on the mounting plate, and you can find a spot where those line up in each corner. And as you're mounting this up, just keep in mind that it's taking all the force from the snowplow blade. So you need to be using solid mounting locations like these frame tubes. And when you're putting the U-bolts on, just make sure you're not pinching any vent lines or wires. On this machine, we're lucky enough that the bracket sits far enough forward that we can actually reinstall our skid plate. With that solid mounting location, we can go ahead and set the U-bolts in place. We've got the washers on the bottom side along with the nylock nuts, and then we're going to torque all of those down to 10 foot-pounds. The next step is to install the rotating plates onto our push tube. So we're going to take this base plate here, we're going to apply a little bit of grease to it, as well as to this top side. Next, we're going to put the flat side of the base plate on this D-shaped plate. You just want to center it so that all those holes are in this cutout on that base plate. And when you set this on here, just make sure the tick marks are facing the back of that push tube. After that, you're going to take this center plate, doesn't matter where these two holes end up. We're just going front to back and then line them up with the 6 holes in that D plate. Now we're going to take this top plate, we're going to set it on top of the base plate and that center plate. And again, tick mark, that's going to be facing the back. Line up all the bolt holes. And with all these plates lined up, we're going to take all 6 of our bolts. We're going to go through the top. And then we've got the washers and nylock nuts on the back side. Then we're going to torque all these down to 15 foot-pounds. Now for the pivot arm, we're applying just a little bit of grease right here. Then we're going to take one of the Allen bolts. We'll go through the arm, through that top plate. Then we've got a washer and nylock nut on the other side. And when you tighten this down, you're just going to go till it lightly seats, then back it off just a hair so this pivot arm can move freely. Then we're going to use our 8mm Allen and 17mm socket to tighten this down. We'll back that off just a hair, make sure it pivots freely. We can go ahead and install our spring. You can see on the back side, the spring's going to sit right there. We'll compress it and put it over that bolt head. Verify everything works. We're going to rotate this through the range of motion. We know we're good. The next step is to install the 2 remaining Allen head bolts along with the nylock nuts. And we're going to install these into this adjustment cluster. We're going to start by installing these into this top mounting location. That's where most plows are going to be, and you're not going to have to move it from there. But if you need to adjust the angle of your snowplow blade, this is where you can do that. Now for the next step, we have our plow blade facing down with the wear bar closest to us. And then I'm gonna have a friend hold the push tube in place. So the lever, that's gonna be facing the top of the blade. And we're just gonna set the head of the bolts on the top groove in the back of the blade. So with that lined up, we're gonna take the bigger hex head bolt. You're gonna install the large flat washer on there. And then we have the medium size flat washer. I'm gonna apply grease to both sides of that. And then these holes in the side of the blade, we're going through there and then through the hole in our base plate. Just move everything till it's lined up. Then you've got the small washer that's going on the inside, followed by the nylock nut. Then we'll install that same hardware group on the other side. Once you have both sides installed, we can go ahead and tighten both bolts down to 25 foot-pounds using our 18mm combo wrench and 19mm socket. The next step, we've laid the push tube down. We're gonna install some L brackets. So in the back corner here, we've got these tabs. The L brackets, they're gonna sit on the outside. You've got the smaller hex head bolt that does not have the flange. We're gonna go through the L bracket, through that base plate, nylock nut on the inside, and we're gonna tighten this bolt a little bit, but we're gonna leave it loose enough to where this can pivot right now. So that's looking pretty good right there. Then we're gonna take this eye bolt. We've got another nylock nut, and I'll just thread that on a few threads. Take this big spring, we're gonna hook it onto the bolt and onto the plow blade right there. And then from here, we need to tighten up the nut on the eye bolt until we have tension on this spring. So right there, we've taken all of the slack out of the spring. That's what you want. Now we can tighten down this L bracket. We're gonna torque that bolt to 15 foot-pounds and do the same steps on this other side. With both of those bolts tightened down, we're gonna put some tension on these springs. The springs are just allowing the blade to fold over if it does catch on something, and they do need some tension. Now, as you tighten these down, you're gonna see some of these coils will start to have a gap in them. So that gap, you want it about as big as a playing card. And if you're still not sure how tight to get these, you want the ting, you don't want the thud. After that, we've got the eyelet for our winch. All you have to do is slide that through that cross member, nylock nut on the back side, and we're gonna torque this to 40 foot-pounds. And the orientation on that eyelet, you can go either way. Just match the connection for your winch. Next, we need to align the prongs on the push tube with those tabs on our mounting plate. We're gonna install our pins. And then we've got the clevis pin on the inside, and the open end is gonna be facing the back of the machine. Yep. And now we can connect the winch to the eyelet. The last thing we have is the gravel skids. So these are optional, but if you are plowing gravel with this blade, you're going to want to have these about a ½ inch lower than the bottom edge of your wear bar. Simply adjust the height with this nut, then install the nylock nut on top. So that's the install process for the Kings Peak 50-inch universal snowplow from Neutron. If you have any questions about the process, leave those down in the comments. If you need to pick one of these up, they're available on our website. Just click the link in the description below and subscribe to our channel for more helpful content. I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Thanks for watching.